Good afternoon. My name is Karl Murphy, the president and co-founder at Spiffy, and this is another episode of Inside Voices Career Paths at Spiffy. And today we are going to speak with Juan Rodriguez Lopez, who is the operations supervisor in Raleigh, North Carolina. Juan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Hey, so Juan, why don't you tell our listeners where'd you grow up? What was like high school like? What'd you do before you got to Spiffy? And then how'd you find your way to Spiffy?
Definitely, yeah. So I spent most of my childhood in Mexico. I was actually born and raised in Mexico in the state of Guanajuato. Then when I was about probably, I think it was around 9 years old, I actually moved to the US, here to North Carolina, to Cary, North Carolina, and I actually been here since. I went to school in Cary Middle School and East Cary Middle School, sorry, and Cary High School. And then after that, went on to working in the landscaping company and decided it was a good, honest work, but decided I didn't like the job as much. I just felt like I'm always been some person that likes to grow in a company, and I didn't see much growth in the company that I was in. So I was definitely looking out for, especially I was very young. I was 18, 19 at the time. So I was definitely looking for a career instead of a job. And I felt like that wasn't going to happen in landscaping, and started looking around. And ever since I could remember, wanted to be a mechanic. So Spiffy popped up in Indeed, actually. And
Yeah,
and that they did mobile oil changes and they did detailing. So I wanted to give it a try. Came over here and been here since then.
excellent. Well, hey, thanks for choosing Spiffy, man. I appreciate it. Um, hey, so I wanna ask you some questions about coming to the United States, right? Um, you came at 9. Did you speak English when you came to the United States?
No, sir, not at all.
Not at all, really. So when you started at in Cary in school, where you had to learn English and go to school.
Yes, sir. So they put me straight. I think it was like third grade,
Uh-huh.
straight into third grade. Thankfully, they have a system. The Wayconnect system has special classes for people who don't speak English, called
Uh-huh.
ESL, English as
Second,
second language.
right?
Yeah. So I went through that class. The teacher there was very helpful, helped me with my pronunciations, learning everything, all the
Right.
basic things, and then we just went on from there.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. And then, did you come over with? I'm assuming you came with your mom and dad, or no? Did you come by yourself? Like, did you come with your family?
Yeah, my whole family came here all at the
Family,
same time. Yeah.
really? Wow. And so, like, I mean, did you come across come across the border? Did you have like a visa? Like, how did that whole thing work out? I mean, there's all kinds of discussion about this.
So my
Go ahead.
yeah, so my father was actually here in the US before us. He
Uh huh.
was working and supporting us in Mexico.
Yep.
He was a permanent resident,
Uh huh.
green card holder,
Yep.
and he was able to apply for his US citizenship.
Yep.
He got his US citizenship, and then he was able to apply for our permanent green card holders. And
Dude,
that's how he brought us here.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey,
Yes,
so
sir.
it's funny. Funny. It's my maternal, my mom's parents, my maternal grandparents are first generation immigrants from Germany, and my
Really?
grandfather. Yeah, and interesting. They both immigrated to the United States in the 30s, like 1932, 1933. They came over on a ship. They and the Bremen, and they landed in New York, and they met each other in New York. They didn't know each other. They lived like 30 miles apart in Germany, in northern Germany, but they didn't know each other. And then they came across and they met in New York. Whatever, started dating, got married, and then had kids. They had 3 kids. My mom was one of them, and then they left New York, and they left. So it was interesting. The story, my grandfather said that he came over because he was one of like 8 brothers, and the culture in Germany, and they had a farm. And I visited this place, right? A big farm, like 1,000 acres, right? They grew potatoes and flowers and all this other stuff. And they were like relatively well off in the 30s. And my grandfather, he said, the culture is the oldest son gets the farm. It's like you're first in, you're the oldest son, you get the farm.
Right.
Everybody else has got to like move out, right? You're a woman, go find a husband.
Right.
You're a dude, you got to go figure your own way, right? And
Right.
he had 8 brothers, and so they all left. And one went to Africa, one went to South Africa, a couple stayed in Germany, and then my grandfather and he had another brother came to the United States, and it's just sort of interesting. And then uh, there wasn't like immigrant services or whatever, and they moved to my hometown where I grew up and where I was born. And my grandfather wouldn't let his kids speak English. He wouldn't let them speak German. Like he wouldn't teach them German because it was like such a big transition thing for him. And so it's interesting. Again, I'm always I love immigrant stories. Like again, I don't really
Right.
it's so in any case, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And it's a it's such an interesting topic today. I guess my personal view is we need more people like Juan Rodriguez Lopez coming to the United States and grinding it out. But in any case, welcome. So you started in landscaping, and then you came to Spiffy. What didn't you like? So the main reason was just like career path. Like there was a small business, and you're like, I don't really
Yeah.
where I'm going.
The way in landscaping, well, I was working for it was kind of a big company as well, but it was already settled. They already had their business running and everything.
Right,
So there was no path to a career. Like all the manager positions were already set in stone,
right.
and you
Somebody's got
couldn't really grow up. There was people, right?
somebody's got to
There was
die
people
before
that
you
were
get a
working there
job.
for, yeah, right. There was people who was working there for 5, 10 years, and they still were just regular crew workers. So it's like, yeah, this is not gonna work out for me. Like
Yeah,
I definitely don't want to be spending my entire life just working lawnmowers. So
yeah,
had
yeah,
to jump out of that ship and go find another one.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, it's great. I want to talk to you about. I'd love for you to share, how you came into Spiffy. So like career path's a big deal. It's a big deal. Career path is a reason why I think people should join our company. Like again, I think when you're coming into the company as a technician and you're looking for an entry level job, whether it's wash, detail, oil exchange, whatever it might be, I think we do offer a lot of career path opportunities. I don't think we do a great job of communicating that, but you got that message.
Right.
Like, when did you get the message? Like Spiffy has a career path. Like, when did that like say? I mean, that's why you wanted to be here, and where did you see that in the company or in the recruiting and the whole process?
So honestly, I joined because just looking around, I knew that experience for the automotive industry, experience is the key, right?
Right.
So I was like, I need to get an experience. So I joined because of the oil changes. But once I was here, I think it was like my first or second day here, I met the supervisor at the time, and he told me his whole story. There was, I think, two supervisors at the time. They told me their story, and
Right.
literally, as my first day here, as we're doing the first tour of the shop and all that,
Right.
the supervisor's telling me, "Yeah, man, I started as a technician just like you. If you do great, if you do good power score, if you want to learn, and if you do what you're supposed to do, you can be where I'm standing right now." Yeah, sure enough, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, how long you been at Spiffy? How long did it take you to get from technician to supervisor?
So I think it took me re re I've been with Spiffy for about almost 4 years, and I think 2 years it took me to, learn. Obviously, we start off as detail techs only
Right.
here in RDU. So our first year was detail only. Second
Yeah.
year was detail and oil. Then
Right.
learn tires, learn brakes,
Right.
and then eventually end up as a supervisor.
Yeah. And then that's awesome. So basically, it took you 2 years to get tuned up, and you became a supervisor. So, and then the other thing that a lot of people don't know is you're like the demo specialist, right? Because you work in the headquarters, right? So the
Right.
headquarters is there. So if we have investors come in and they want to see a service, or if we have partners come in, they want to buy software from us or trucks and franchisees, whoever wants to come in and see demos, right? Didn't you do a demo for the guy who runs the Fed, the Richmond Fed, the federal Fed governor? Didn't that guy come around? Did you do a demo for him?
Yes, sir. I did. I did two demos for him. I did one day over here at the shop,
Yeah.
and then we went out a whole day to do a whole route, me and him together.
Yeah. So it was interesting. We had a Richmond Fed governor come down and was just wanted to learn about businesses and innovation, that sort of stuff. And somebody connected with us, and then we were like, hey, go see Juan. And so good stuff. Um, Interesting. So tell me about, so I want to transition to, so this is like the Juan is successful. What advice would you give a new hire? So what makes technicians successful at Spiffy?
So for me, I think what makes a technician successful is definitely is you gotta have the right attitude. You gotta be willing to learn. Uh, you can't just come in here and think you know it all because maybe there's things that you haven't learned, and that's something that myself I learned a lot through the days. Is like I think there's points where you think I know everything, and then somebody else comes and teaches you a lesson, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't know that." So I think definitely the attitude, being willing to learn, listen to advice, and always, for me, it was always wanting to improve. As I was telling one of our new hires that we just hired less than 3 weeks ago, it's like every service that I went out to was an opportunity for me to improve upon the last service. If the last service I didn't do such a great job for whatever the reason was, I already know that in the next service is my next opportunity to improve upon that. So whether it's oil changes, detailing, whatever the case may be, I saw every service as an opportunity to improve upon upon the last service.
Yeah. So let's turn it around to the other side. So when you see people come in and then they quit, right? They quit, or we ask them to leave, right?
Right.
What are the top 2 or 3 reasons why people quit, or we ask them to leave? What causes people to get into those positions?
I said the number one reason is probably just lack of motivation. They come in here not motivated to do the work, lack of will of care for their own, or I would rephrase it, for pride of their own work. So they go out, do a service, and they don't really take pride in what they do. They're not motivated to learn, so they won't listen when somebody tries to hand them advice. And therefore, when they're not willing to listen, they just make their job harder on themselves and end up having to quit. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah. I think what's hidden in what you say is that we have a pretty, so there's 2 things, right? A lot of our business is mobile, right? And
Right.
then we have this really comprehensive training program, and we have technology or tools that are designed for the technician to be super efficient and safe and deliver high quality work mobily, right? And so
Right.
if you're out there and you're listening to Juan and myself talk about this, and you work at Jiffy Lube or Valvoline, or you work at, Mercedes or Ford dealership, it's a different business in the sense that a lot of it's mobile. And then it's in many cases, it's what we call high volume. There's either a lot of cars to wash or a lot of cars to change oil on. And so we've built, so like one thing that's different is you work out of a truck, right? So the other thing that's different is we have a suction system, right? Is we suck oil out of cars. We have trucks that have tire equipment in them, right? And so you don't have a tire shop like that. You're not in the shop. Your shop is like, you know, a Transit 350 high roof, right, with equipment in it.
Right.
And all of our training is built around that. And that's a big part of Juan's job as a supervisor. He's our certified market trainer for Raleigh. And you come in and you're going to spend 2 weeks with him coming up to speed. But you have to have the humility, right? The attitude, the open mind to learn our process and then understand like this process exists. Like we've built this process over 10 years to be safe and efficient for you, and to deliver high quality services and to be productive because we are not at a shop, right? We're not at Discount
Right.
Tire. We're not at Firestone. We're not at Mercedes. And so the whole thing's different. One of them is like you leave in the morning, right? And this is a plus and a minus. Like I we don't have that big a problem anymore. But when we first started, we used to recruit guys who get freaked out when they leave the building, like because they didn't have like the safety net of like somebody to help them, right? It's like you go out and you go to some lady's house or some guy's house, like you got to have your stuff together, right? You got to have all your tools, you got to have all your chemicals. Um, you you have to make sure you have the right oil filters if we're doing oil. You got to make sure, you know, we had a guy leave the building to do a tire exchange, to do a tire. He was installing tires for someone. He brought the wrong tires, right? Shows up. I gotta do a low profile BMW 5 Series, and he's got like these truck tires. I'm like, dude, like it was a BMW. These things look like they go on a BMW. And drive back and come in. It's just straight all, and we have checklists for that, right? And it's like, they're like, hey, look, pull the checklist out. Don't don't think you are never going to forget something, right? And to use those checklists.
Right.
So I think if you're on the outside and thinking about coming to work for us, we have some people have described it as like a little military like process. We're like, hey, there's checklists and like do it this way every day, and that routine that comes in. Uh, again, the routine can be it can be reassuring, right? If you like that, and some people reject like I don't want to do the same thing every day. Like, look, the process and that routine is to make you repeatably very successful, right? And go out and do great work and get promoted and, be like Juan, right? Not be like, Fred who got fired because he couldn't follow a checklist and didn't do his stuff. Uh, yeah, good stuff. So let's transition to, tell me describe the day in the life for a new employee, right? So as the supervisor in Raleigh, you're responsible for bringing these guys on and training them, right? And so what's that look like day one? What's the first week look like? What's the second week look like? Describe sort of like the first week and then like the first month, because what we find, right, and I'm sure you see this in Raleigh, is if employees make it 30 days, they can make it like a year. And we sort of lose a lot of
Right.
people in the first 30 days, because like, and we do a lot to explain to them, here's the work, here's the process, here's the company, here's the culture, but they don't think they don't internalize it, right? You internalize, they're like, hey, this place is pretty good. I'm looking for a career. Hey, I
Right.
like it. Hey, I'm going to grind to be great, right? So, and that was successful for you. We don't we don't find enough wands when we're recruiting. And so again, review a potential new employee what the first week, first day, first week, first month looks like for them.
Yeah. So the first day they come into our shop, like I said, we do a shop tour. We show them where everything is, our chemical station, where everything is located, and all the tools that they're gonna need to go out and do a service. Then they sit and go through an introduction meeting that we do is like a Zoom call that we do where they go all over the Simonized chemicals. They go over all of the proper procedures. Uh, Even if you're coming in as a detail tech, they go over high volume oil change as well. The next day when they come back, they spend a day with our supervisor. So like they spend a day with me here in the shop, training on whatever vehicles we have on site, actually performing a service on those vehicles so that they can get the hang of doing a service with, like how you describe it, with that safety net of us being there, like showing them like, hey, remember the proper Spiffy procedures. You gotta do it this way, guiding them through the service. And then their next week is going out with a CMT, a certified market trainer, to complete a whole board with that safety net of the certified market train being there, helping them out, showing them. Because it's one thing to say this is how a spiffy is done, and it's another thing to actually go out and do 5 spiffies in a row. So when they're out, they're spending that time with the CMTs, they're actually getting the hang of what it's like running your board in one day, what sort of issues you're going to run into, what solutions you can use to solve those issues, uh, and all of that. So that's the first week. Then finally, when they start going out in their own, um, we tend to start them out with Spiffys and Spiffy and Shines, kind of our basic washes, just so that they can properly start to get the hang of that. Once they have showed us that they're getting good reviews, they can run a whole board for the day, uh, do it efficiently. Then we start letting them do our higher end services like the Totally Awesome and our Awesome details, which is uh, what we tend to get a lot of our high end clients. So they go and do that once they have proved to us that they can do it all of our services.
Yeah. So if you're listening from the outside, so one, the board it's literally, as a technician, it's your phone, right? And it's
Yes.
your schedule, right?
Right.
Managers call it the board because they look at a laptop and it has all the technicians and all their work for the
Right.
day. And it used to be a whiteboard with Sharpies. People would take phone calls, we would just put it on a whiteboard. And then
Yeah.
over the last 10 years, we built all this technology, and you as a new technician will get a phone, and we use Apple iPhones, and then you clock in and clock out on your phone. You see the board, you get to see your ratings and reviews, right? Like, all that stuff gets feedback to you.
Yeah. All that.
Yep. And then the other thing that Juan talked about is Power Score. And so Power Score is it's a math formula that has two inputs to it. One is um, how many services you do in a week, and the other is the ratings from the customer. So it's really you and the customer. It has nothing to do with Juan or me, right? It's just the work you produce and how fast you produce and how much you do and how good it is in the eyes of the customer. Um, and so we use that uh, as feedback, right? We stack, and when you come into the warehouse, there's a we call it a dashboard, a TV, a 55-inch TV, and everyone's name is up there, and then there's your power score, right? And so, and it's a number from 0 to 100, and you can actually get like extra credit. You can go up to like 105 or 106, um, and it's pretty like real, right? Like the power score is for real. Like if you have a 100 power score, you're better than 90. If you have a 90 power score, you're a better tech than 80.
Yeah.
And so it's a really nice number that is not like it's just you and the customer, right? It's a real nice feedback on what kind of work you're doing. And the employees, I mean, Juan, you can tell some stories about this. Like it becomes a point of pride, right? Like the guys
Yeah.
puff up their chest and start talking trash to each other about, 95 versus 94, 98 versus 97, right?
Just this morning, we had a technician come in and the dashboard finally updated, and he went from before the last time it updated, he was at a 95, and now this morning he was at a 104, and he was one of our top techs. He started showing it off to everybody before the meeting. He's like, "Oh, would you look at that? I'm top three. I'm top three." Just going around and telling let everybody know that he's up there.
Yeah. Well, and the best part is like, it's not like there's no favoritism, right? There's no,
Right.
the man hates me or the man is playing favorites. It's just like, it's you and the customer, dude. Like how much work you produce and are you getting 5-star ratings, right? And so all the customers, so again, if you're on the outside, every consumer rates the service before they pay. We force them into give us a star rating, 1 star to 5 stars, and then you can put comments in. And so if again, if you're a Juan Rodriguez and you're you have a lot of pride in your work and you want to be great, like there's an opportunity every day, is every service, every hour, I can get 5 stars and you get that positive feedback. And it drives, right? Like it drives pay, right? It drives raises and stuff. Like you have a low power score, you don't get a raise. You have a high power score, maybe you get, maybe you get a $1.50 instead of a buck raise, right? Or whatever it might be. And then the better power scores, right? I mean, that was one of the things that played into you becoming supervisor, right? Like if you can't do good work, like you're not going to be supervised. Like we don't promote people who have like
Right.
shoddy work, right? Because you're
Right.
training the next generation of technicians, right? Hey,
100%.
Hey, so what else is on? Tell the people who are considering coming to work here, what else is on the dashboard? So there's some other data on that dashboard, right?
So yeah, so you get so for your oil technicians, we have all the data for the customer for the vehicle information, so you can get the oil filter, oil capacity, all the good stuff, the bin, different types of oil filters because we have different brands. Well, we stick to EcoGuard, but
Right.
sometimes uh, different cars you need OEM, whatever the case may be. They have all the information there. You have ways of contacting the customer. You can leave notes for the customer. Uh, it shows, of course, all of your services from, we call it the schedule from your first service at 9 a.m. all the way to your last service at 6 p.m. It shows the start and the end. And then, of course, if you go to your personal information, you can actually get everything that you need for your payroll. Basically, they tell you how many hours you work through the whole day, what, how many tip, how much money in tips you have earned. So,
Right.
our technicians love that feature. They go every day, they go, it's like, oh, I got a $5 tip at the end of the day, $5 per $5, and it go out to $30, whatever the case might be. So, yeah, I think,
Yeah. So that's the tech app. So, and thank you for telling me. I should have, I wasn't thinking about that. What I was talking about was the dashboard, the TV in the
oh,
break
that
room.
dashboard. Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So
So
what,
sorry about that.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
So what else is on that?
So on the dashboard, of course, you have the power score. Then we also we pride in safety. So you have a speeding list. We now go over 70. So if you go over 70, you're unfortunately going to appear in the speeding list over there. Then we have all of our anniversaries. If you're turning 2 years, 1 year, whatever the case may be, you're going to appear in the anniversary screen. Uh, and then you have the list of all the technicians that we have working that day, and it also shows which band you are in. So it shows Juan Rodriguez band 2232 on 2232, whatever the case may be. And then our favorite part for us as supervisors is it shows a little chart with all of the CVUs and their average rating. So you can see, for example, I work out of the Riley's CVU, and then we have Charlotte's the CVU, and see their average power score, and it shows a little graph whether it goes down, up, and we'll supervise since we take pride into our city. We want to always be better than the other streets. So that's kind of a little, little chart that we keep an eye on all the time, seeing if Charlotte is beating us or seeing if Riley's winning this month, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And don't we put in some reviews? Doesn't the review highlights too? You get some customer reviews there and there.
Right.
Or is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Right in
Yeah.
the center of the screen is
Yeah.
all the recent 5-star reviews.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's yeah. So there's like the data, and there's all what I call carrots and sticks, right? The carrots are like city comparisons, the
Right.
ratings, right? And then the sticks are the speeding thing, right? So um we have a huge focus on safety, and the one metric we measure, the number we measure for employees is the speeding number. How many employees are speeding? Because we figure that what I say in training is the first shortcut you're going to take is you're going to speed to your first appointment, and all the appointments are built. Your travel time is built off of Google Maps, and so they know how long it takes, and then we give you a little bit of buffer in there. So if it says you got 17 minutes to get to your appointment, you probably could do it in 10 or 12, and so uh, we don't want you speeding, right? And we want you to run safe operations. Again, we're using chemicals and trucks and equipment and all this sort of stuff. And if you're sort of reckless, you're going to get hurt, and we don't want people to get hurt. And so we measure that, and we're pretty, um, uh, we're very strict about speeding. So you get some warnings, right? Between 70 and 80. What's that we have, if you do a certain speed limit, you're immediately fired. What is that number one?
Above 80, that's
Yeah.
immediate termination.
Yeah, above 80, it's even tournament. And you gotta, the trucks weigh 8,000. I mean, they're Transit 250s, right? They're big vans full of oil and water and chemicals and stuff. And so, I call that an 80 mile per hour missile, right? And so, in any case, uh, we want you to drive safe. Don't use your phones when you're driving. Just get to the customer and do great work when you get there. So, in any case, uh, I love the dashboard. Like there was a day in Spiffy when we didn't have the dashboard, right? And when that came out and we started putting people's scores up there with the power score, like it was life changing for employees because it really creates like a lot of positive energy among employees, right?
Right.
Transparency, you get to see who's who. And we used to have so some, I don't know if you guys do this, some cities use the power score to determine schedule because again, some components of the schedule are better than others. Like nobody wants to work on Sunday, but we got to work on Sunday. And so, you know,
Right.
uh, you sort of get to pick at least, hey, if you're 105 power score, like the general managers tend to give the employees some preference around that. And so
Right.
again, it takes favoritism out. Again, I think for a lot of frontline employees, they don't know why some decisions are being made. We bring data in and just scores like, oh, hey, what's your work and what's the customer say about you? That helps us determine where do we send employees. And you go out and do 5-star, you go out and do totally awesome details. Like totally awesome is about $300, right? You go do those and you get 5-star ratings. We give you more of them, right? And the nice thing for you as an employee is right. What happens on 5-star totally awesome? So what's the biggest thing for an employee that happens? Juan.
Uh,
Tip.
and the 5-star totally awesome.
Yeah, I mean, don't they get
Right.
tips, right? Because it's like this comprehensive reconditioning of a car. So people generally do that if, they're going on vacation or they went on vacation or they're selling their car, right? There's some big event that people are spending $300 or $400 on their car. And so when we come in and the work we do is really, I mean, it can take a nasty car and make it look almost like new. And it's customers like, wow, that's so awesome. And, the guys are getting, I mean, it's not unheard of for a guy to get 20, 30, 40, $50 as a tip on those services. And, not required. If you're a customer, it's not required. But if you like to do that, you can do that. And so, um, again, sort of reinforces, hey, I do good work. Customer tips you. The manager is like, you get a high power score, and then we send you out to do more of them. And there's just really this virtuous cycle of good work, happy customers, sort of a reward, sort of a little cherry on top for the employee, right? The tips and that sort of thing.
Right.
So what, so really good conversation. What other stories like are relevant? I mean, do you have any interesting stories? If I was an employee, if I'm on Indeed looking, like what
Right.
cool story could you tell an employee? Like, hey, this happened at Spiffy, and if you like this sort of stuff, you should come work here.
Well, the one I always tell my Chinese that I first come in, I know they're into cars. So that's the first thing I tell them. Like, and it's like, I never in my life thought I would be touching the type of vehicles that we service here in Spiffy. I tell them the story that I went out to a customer's house and I was cleaning. She had a scheduled 2 services. One was a Volkswagen Beetle, and then the next service was, uh, I think it was a Bentley Bentayga or something like that.
Yeah,
So it was a very expensive car. So it's like started off my day working a Beetle, and then the next vehicle right after that was
with the Bentley.
Bentley. So it's like and I couldn't even figure out. I was telling him, I was like, this car was so nice, I couldn't even figure out how to turn it on. Like I had to get the customer to help me out to turn it on, drive it onto the mat.
Yeah, can you put this
like,
on
I
a
could
mat for
never
me?
imagine. Right. 100%. Yeah. So that's what I tell them. I was like, any vehicle imaginable, you're going to be servicing that vehicle here with Spiffy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Bentleys in Raleigh, if you didn't know. If you live in Raleigh, there's a couple of them floating
Right.
around. There's a couple of Bentleys and there's a couple of
Right.
Lamborghinis. Nice.
Right.
Hey, so what can you, so let's go back to career path, right? So you started the technician, you did wash training, then you're an oil tech, and then you became supervisor. Could you explain the career path, like up to general manager, uh, for, new hire? Like just talk about it from your perspective. What's that look like?
So I think obviously, like I said, everybody starts as a detail technician here in RDU. So from there, if you show us that you do great job, you do great work, and you take pride in what you do, we can definitely move you up to an oil tech. Servicing an engine is a lot more attentive than than
Wash a
detailing a
car.
vehicle. Yeah. So you do great in detailing, we move you up to an oil tech. Then after an oil tech, we can, of course, here in Raleigh, we offer mobile tires as well. So if you're doing great in oil, then we can move you up to become a tire technician. Of course, if you're a tire technician, you're still a detail technician and an oil technician. You're just adding more tools to your toolbox. And then you do great with that. Then you can do brakes. After that, then you can become a lead technician, where you basically are the lead for everybody. Everybody can ask the questions. Sorry, I skipped CMT. CMT, becoming a CMT, a certified market trainer, being able to train those tools that you have in your toolbox, being able to train other technicians to do it successfully and improve upon it. And then becoming a lead technician. And then from there, supervisor, and then general manager.
Yep. Yeah. And so then some of the other stuff that's available, if you're interested as a technician, we have a training team, right? So you can join the training team. The trainers travel a lot. So you got to be able to be on the road basically 3 weeks a month, but you get to go all over the country and open new cities, go in to train new skill sets, learn new things. So that's an exciting thing. It's an option for technicians. Uh, and then the other one is, and this is new to Spiffy, is to join our car sales reconditioning team, right? So we have uh, across the country different locations where we take used cars and we certify them for resale as a used car, right? So it may have come from a rental car company or an auction, or the client bought them, from someone, and then they want to make them both aesthetically and mechanically, basically as close to like new as possible. And we call that car sales certification. And so those facilities have both master techs, right? ASE certified master techs, but then they have sort of like B and C techs also. And so if you're a really good, lube, oil, detail, tire tech, you can go over to those locations and then really build your skill set as a mechanic, because you have this sort of uh, senior ASC certified expert who can help you, and you'll learn how to diagnose cars, right? You can put a computer on a car and, what do these codes mean? And, you get to see a lot of different cars, right? So we see, Ford, Chevys, Chryslers, Toyotas, Hyundais, Mercedes, BMWs, you see the whole range of them. So even better than just like working at a dealership where you're only going to see one type or one brand, you get to see all these different brands. And you get to learn about, because they all have their own little idiosyncrasies, right? And the things that go wrong with them, and how do you fix them, and all those sorts of things. And so that's an option also. And we have one of those in Raleigh. So that's, and then we have all over Florida, we have on the West Coast. And so those are, that's a career path that, back when we started Spiffy in 2014, that didn't exist, but it exists today. So it's cool stuff. All right. Hey, so
Yeah, and I
Juan,
can actually,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I actually spent some time in our recon facility here in RDU, and I gotta say, a lot of the stuff that I know about now about being mechanically, I learned it there, just spending time with our ASC mechanics and
Yeah.
them teaching me how to service a lot of the stuff properly, how to
Yeah.
proper procedures, and like how you said, it was not just a specific brand. It was like Fords, you gotta do this,
Yeah.
Mazdas, you gotta do this, Lincolns are the same as Fords, but they still have another trick that you gotta be able to do. So
Right.
learned a
Good
lot
stuff.
from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Awesome. Hey, as we wrap up, Juan, do you have any questions for me?
Uh, uh, I did have one. I just wanted to uh, uh kind of figure out your opinion on what you think the automotive market will be looking at in the next few years. I've heard stories of like companies going completely electric by 2020 2035, and some companies have not made that step yet. So
Yeah.
what do you, in your opinion, what do you think is going to happen with the automotive industry?
Yeah. So, hey, really good question. Um, so I think with respect to electrification, um, I don't think you're going to see 100% EVs. Consumers don't want that.
Mm.
The government has these environmental initiatives, and it's easy to say cars go electric. It's much harder to implement. Um, the biggest challenge is uh, the cost of the batteries and the range issues. You know, no one in Montana wants an EV because they need to drive their truck across the state I mean, the people live 75 miles from a grocery store in Montana. I mean, EVs, like, I'm in Los Angeles right now. EVs make sense in LA, like, and
Right.
there are a lot of them out here. And so, but 80% of America is rural. And so, uh,
Right.
I don't think I think you're going to see EVs get to 20 or 30% of the population. The manufacturers need to get cheaper EVs, right? Like, Teslas are luxury cars, right? And people love them, right? The Tesla customers love them. But you need a 25 or $30,000 EV to really sell more of them. The other thing I think it's going to happen with respect to environmental sort of developments in the automotive industry is I really think you're going to see more cars like Priuses, right? So you're going to see hybrids where they have a battery and that battery is really small. So like, Prius, like you get, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 miles out of a battery, right? So if the manufacturers put electric motors in for, shorter range, right? So, and most people drive like 20 miles to work. And so really, can you drive to work and drive home and then plug your car in at home? That makes more sense. And it's more economical for the country because the charging infrastructure, like those plugs that, you need to plug your car in, they're expensive to put in, like somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 is sort of the cost. If you do it in, in a parking deck or something, it's cheaper if you just
Right.
plug it into your house, for a
Right.
variety of reasons. And then the other issue is like the grid, right? Like the power companies, if you took all the gas out of every car in America, that energy needs to come through the power grid, and the power companies don't have that much excess capacity, right? So you'd have to build massive amounts of power plants. And today, most of the power plants are fueled by oil and coal anyhow. And so now you just take the
Right.
gas out of the car and you put it in a power plant. And so again, I think you're going to get to 20 or 30% of the cars. You're going to see more EVs, but it's not going to be 100%. So that's my thought on EVs. I do think cars have gotten really expensive because of all the sensors. So I think you're going to see the cost of new cars continue to go up and become more and more expensive. And so you're going to see people hold on to their cars longer and longer. So over the last decade, about every year, the average age of the vehicles out on the road goes up by like 6 months. I think that's actually going to go up more, right? I own a Ford F-150. It's a 2000. You've seen this vehicle. You changed the oil on it. It's a
Yes, sir.
2013. It's a 2013 with 200,000 miles on it. Like the only problem I have with the truck is it's got a cut in the seat now, and I'm gonna, I got to go find somebody to go just because I've been sitting on it for 200,000 miles. My big bottom, put a hole in the seat. But the thing runs well. I put new tires on it. God, I want to go buy a new pickup truck, like a new F-150 is like $70,000, right? You'll
Right.
drive it it's FX4, it's got a sunroof, it's 4-wheel drive, right? Like it's not like, a white truck for a contractor, right? And so
Right.
God, do I really want to spend $70,000 on a new truck when my truck works just fine? I mean, I'm gonna have to buy a new one at some point, but I'm 10 years into that truck and it's still chugging along. Why would I want to go take on that car? I mean, that car payment's gonna be $1,000 a month, right? And
Right.
so I think you're going to see the average age of cars go up. I think you're going to see the car costs go up, uh, and become more expensive. And for us as a business, I think that those are all very positive trends because people are going to want more cleaning, right? They're going to clean the car.
Right.
You've seen my truck. My truck looks pretty. It doesn't look 10 years old because I clean it. Like, I'm a car wash guy, right? So I clean it all the time. It's got some dings and stuff on it, but it looks 5 years old, not 10, right? So I think you're
Right.
going to see customers invest more in cleaning their cars, and they're going to invest more in maintaining their cars, right? And the best thing you can do to keep your car on the road is change the oil every 5,000 miles, right? Put good oil in it, change the oil, rotate your tires. When your tires get down to 430 seconds, get new tires, right? And we can sell all those things to customers, and we can do it at their home. And so I just think the trends for Spiffy are very positive from that standpoint. Interesting fact about EVs, if you look at the percentage of EVs in the country, I want to say it's like 7 or 8% of all cars on the road, like 7% are EVs. At Spiffy, it's like twice that. So our customers, we have twice as many EVs in our fleet of customers as there are on the road. And what's interesting about that is that because the EV customers don't go to the gas station, they don't have to buy gas. So like every week, they're not putting
Right.
$100 of gas. I mean, I fill my truck up, it's like $95 now, right? It's got a 32-gallon tank. Gas in North Carolina is $3.50. It's like $110. So if that was electric, I wouldn't spend that money every week. So they
Right.
feel like they have more money to spend. So they spend more money on car wash and detail. Right. So they spend more
Makes
money.
sense.
And the other thing is they don't go to gas stations, and gas stations have car washes. So there's no opportunity to like run it through the gas station. So they go, well, hey, I'm just going to have Spiffy come and wash my car at home. Uh, so,
Right.
so those are my thoughts on that stuff. We'll see if I'm true, if those predictions come true. But I'll write those down for you, and we can check in 6 months and see how they're coming along.
Definitely.
So it's a really good question. Hey, so Juan, let's wrap up, man. I want to thank you for spending some of your time with me, talking about what it's like to be a manager at Spiffy and what it's like to be a successful technician. Uh, Thanks for joining my team. I'm so proud to have people like you on the team, cranking it out every day. And wrap up again. My name's Karl Murphy. I'm the president, co-founder of Spiffy. And today we interviewed Juan Rodriguez, operations supervisor in Raleigh. And we're hiring every day. Go to getspiffy.com/careers or find us on Indeed in your market. We'd love to have you come down and join the team. We need talented, hardworking people with a good attitude in every city in America. Hey, Juan, have a great day, man. Thank you.
You too as well. Thank you.